our age of advanced technology.
And I'm doing great today, Dr. Ed. What's up?
People are naturally attracted to those who are authentic.
I always knew I would do something big. I knew I was built to do something special.
It led over time to a pretty dark place.
As soon as my feet hit the ground in the morning, I've made a choice not to stop unless I'm asleep.
You know, I'm a 22-year overnight success.
How do I find the freaking jack to get to the next level?
Ryan, how are you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, Ed? Dude, I'm excited to be here, man. It was really cool to hang out with you a couple weeks ago, and I'm honored that you asked me to come on here and chill with your peeps. Let them listen to some stuff that we be talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because I'll tell this little story really quickly before you share about yourself. But I mean, I saw you at Sharfin at the event there for the Enlightened, what is it? I can't even remember the name of it now. It's not EPT, but it was for the Enlightened Academy, Entrepreneurial Academy. And I saw you there. You were one of the first people I saw, and I walked right up and I'm like, "Hey, hardcore closer, how's it going?" So I was like pretty surprised to see you there, but I was also, you know what, we're going to talk a little bit about maybe that event and what I learned about you and some advice that you gave me, because I think that the advice that you dropped on me is actually changing my business, and I'll kind of reveal that as we go through the conversation today. But before we do, I mean, for those people who are out there, the aspiring online entrepreneurs that don't know who you are, share a little bit about, Ryan Stewman, the hardcore closer.
Well, first of all, the reason why you recognize me and we went together is because we both have awesome tattoos. Let's just get that out of the way, right? We see another cool dude, and you're the only dude with tattoos in the room that's got sleeve tattoos. You see another person, you're like, oh, that guy must be all right because he's got the old tattoo hookup too. So, so a little bit about me. I'm a sales trainer. I have one of the top sales training companies on the planet right now, which is really cool. And we have lots of e-learning products. That's really what we focus on, is people coming in that want to learn niche information on how to get better at specific type sales, whether it be automotive sales or whether it be real estate sales or mortgages and all those different kind of things. And over the years, I've just niched out a bunch of different products. And what is, I guess, would qualify me to be the sales trainer, and what's got me where I am, is in my entire life, I've never had a salary job. I've never one day in my life taken a paid day off. That doesn't exist even today. And it's just, I was born and raised into the selling industry, and really I've always looked at it as the only opportunity that I've ever had to get ahead, because I don't have unlike the doctors and chiropractors and stuff that listen to your podcast, I don't have any kind of degree or in reality any diploma. In sales is really what's allowed me to earn a doctor type living without having to go through the formal education and stuff. Because I mean, I'm the first to admit I'm not really that smart, and I'm really not good at taking tests. And so, I just got into the sales field, and I'm 36 years old now, and it's been pretty good to me. It's also been really mean to me, just like most salespeople as well. But I have learned with every up and every down.
It's interesting to me because, your brand, the hardcore closer, I wonder if we should maybe call it the hardcore worker. I mean, you work hard. I see what you're doing, what you're producing. You're constantly putting out value for the people, the fans, the followers, the audience that you have. Where do you get that work ethic from?
Well, it's funny you asked that, Ed, because for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a little personal course just for about 50 people that I know, and really low buy-in ticket. And it's about the mentality, right, that I have, and the high producer mentality. And last night I talked about what it meant to be a high producer. And the program's not for sale or anything like that, so I'm not trying to sell you on anything. But it's just funny that you asked that, because the main thing that I was trying to convey to the people that were listening to that program is, as soon as my feet hit the ground in the morning, I've made a choice not to stop unless I'm asleep. And it's not always easy, right? And as you get older, you get more tired and things of that nature. But I've decided that if I'm going to go into motion, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing constant motion. And, after growing up in the car wash business and washing cars in the 100-degree heat here in Texas, and washing thousands of cars every single day, and selling those cars that come through different car wash packages and stuff like that over the years, sitting behind a computer and creating, videos and writing books and writing blog posts and stuff. It's hardly work to me. It really seems like fun. And I'm just glad that I'm not out in the heat again. So that's got a lot to do with it. But I feel like there's, like most entrepreneurs, that I have this calling. And, there's two levels really that my friend Adam Stark refers to it as the hustler mode and the high paid mode. And, I'm just now starting to see the tip of that high paid mode. And my threshold for highly paid might be more than most people. But for the last 6 years, I've been in hustle mode so that I can, elevate myself to that highly paid mode. Like these days, I work hard at different stuff. Back in the day, I was working hard on creating the content, creating the follow-up process, selling the clients and everything else. And these days, I work really hard on creating the content. That's like my main thing. And I've put other people in place on my team to pick up slack in area, and not pick up slack, but take responsibility for areas where at the same time, now I've moved myself to where, like I said, I'm in the high paid realm to where I can focus on content, because that seems to be what drives everybody in, right? Like without the content. And then really that's the one thing that my sales team and my staff can't duplicate is me getting on video. They can't do that. And so, those are the things that I need to focus on, the things that, obviously can bring the most leads in that are on that high paid level, and are also the things that nobody else can do that aren't duplicatable, right? If that's the word. When
you and I were at that event with Alex Sharfin, you actually said to me, Ed, you're like where I was 4 years ago, or maybe it was 3 years ago or something in business. And I'll just kind of remind you a little bit about how my business goes. So I've been on, coaching calls since 10 this morning, before I jumped on this interview with you. I made maybe $7,000 today alone. So I'm collecting. But at the end of the day, I'm coaching those people for the next 3 months. And you kind of gave me a little bit of insight on that, and how you used to be that way, but now you've actually designed and changed your business. And maybe this goes back to that high paid mode like you're talking about right now. But could you share with listeners a little bit about how you changed your business from where you were doing 10, 15 a month to where you're doing multiple six figures now? Yeah.
So in 2014, it all starts with a divorce, right? That's where all good stories start. It's like, see, I was going through this divorce. And so in 2014, I was going through this divorce. And at the end of the year, like maybe the beginning of 2015, my lawyer calls and he's like, good news, man. You don't have to split any of the equity of your business with your soon-to-be ex-wife. You're going to be okay there. Your business isn't worth anything. And I was like excited and frustrated at the same time. Like, okay, cool. I'm not going to lose equity in this divorce, but at the same time, what do you mean my business isn't worth anything, right? I've worked for 4 years now to build this thing up. How could you just sit here and insult me and say that it's worthless, right? Like, what kind of, come on, man, that's not cool at all. And so turns out he's like, well, if you get hit on your motorcycle, or if you get in a car accident, or, I live in a high rise, if you trip and fall off the side of the building, or if a window breaks or whatever, then that's it. If you'll recall, I just said that the one thing that my sales staff can't do is duplicate the content, because that's all me, And he's like, well, if you die, that's over. Like, no matter how much you're making a month. And at the time, it was 10, 20 grand. It wasn't anything huge by any stretch of imagination. But if I died, then that money wouldn't come in the following month. I had been a loan officer for many years. And in the mortgage world, you only eat what you kill for the month. Same in real estate. You sell a house, you eat that month. You don't sell a house, you don't eat that month. It's not like necessarily the chiropractic business where customers come in every month for the next, or every week or whatever it is, for the next period of time and pay you, or they become lifetime customers and pay you. It doesn't work that way at all for mortgage or real estate people, as they close one deal and then they've got to go find another one, or they don't eat next month. The exact opposite of the insurance model. Well, that was what I was doing in my business, similar to what you said you were doing in yours. And, if I didn't show up the next month, I didn't get paid. And so that really, for a couple of reasons, threw me off, because, it wasn't that I was trying to avoid paying my ex. I'm not like some evil, greedy person in that matter. She had my son, and I wanted to make sure that he was taken care of as well. And that was the real concern, was that my ex doesn't work. So if something did happen to me, who was going to take care of my son? And, I had to figure out a new way of doing things to where I could leave a legacy. And my CPA, who happens to be my neighbor, had a meeting with me a few days later, for obvious reasons, going through the divorce here. And he helped me put together an idea of how I could run my business and scale it. And then I actually linked up with a guy named Russell Brunson, and I watched how he ran his business. I joined one of his masterminds just so I could see how the whole thing was laid out from start to finish. And I saw how he handled his business. And I had been in many masterminds like Alex's and Kevin Nation's and Frank Kern's and stuff, and seen how they ran theirs. And Russell's was a little bit different. He actually had a whole lot of people working for him and stuff like that. And according to what my CPA set up, I started building a team. And flash forward about a year and a half now it's been. And, I have 15 or so people on my team. I've got 4 people in different management positions. I've got, we're hiring new salespeople every day. We've got affiliate. I've got about 17 different streams of income. And if I decided not to work for let's just be real. I've been kicked off of Facebook for the last 2 weeks and everything's still, moving, not full steam because I have been out of the picture a little bit, but things are still moving ahead instead of being completely still. And I think that's the key. It's like you want to build one of these businesses, so that you're not constantly having to hustle it so that you can get to the high paid mode, which I'm escalating up to. But more important than that, you don't want it to take over your lifestyle. And, because you don't want to, I looked up one time and I was like, the only hobby I got is my business, man. Like on one hand, that's cool. I got nice cars and all this stuff. But on the other, it's like, shit, I have no hobbies. But the other thing is, you want to have an end goal with this, Ed. And for me, I want to work in this about 10 more years, and then I want to sell it off as a legacy, right? Somebody else just takes over the Hardcore Closer brand. And in order to do that, I can't just be a one-man show that requires someone else to show up next month or it won't work. So I've had to build something bigger than that. CRM, systems in place, training, employee manuals, terms terms of agreements, and all this stuff, man, that's really outside of my wheelhouse, but I've hired people to do it for me. And it's made all the difference in the world. That having people in place and scaling this thing has taken our company revenues from me and my assistant being together. We're doing about 20 grand a month to last month we did $224,000 in gross sales just for the month. So, I mean, it's definitely ratcheted it up several notches. But more importantly, my peace of mind's better because, now I'm not stuck building the websites and I don't have to go post the stuff on the WordPress anymore. I write an article out. I give it to my editor. The editor cleans it up, makes sure that all the grammar's right in there, goes out, finds a picture, uploads it to the blog. Dude, that's saving me hours of work on a weekly basis. And just little things like that I've put people in place. And now having a sales team as well has allowed me to get into what I call the zone of genius, to where I can focus on the things that drive leads to the sales team, which is ultimately what gets our company paid and earns us revenue.
I'm making so many notes here, Ryan. It's like crazy. Okay. So I'm going to take a step back. I mean, because one question I'm going to circle back on is really, again, the cliche in podcasts is always about the struggle, but I'm going to circle back on that in a second. But I often call this, working with my clients or when I'm doing webinars, I call it filling the gap. So I see in a lot of businesses, there's these gaps, but when I look at your business, I don't see any gaps. I mean, you have an incredible line of digital products, consulting. I mean, all these different, there's no gap there. How key is it to in terms of like building out your business to having a strategy, but also having like the proper pricing on your products?
Price is a weird thing. And I have filled the gaps over the years, and there's still gaps, in my business. There's things that maybe you don't see that I do, that I'm working towards, right? And just like there would be gaps that you see in your business that I'd be like, wow, that's amazing. I never thought of that, just because we're entrenched in what we do. But I've tried to fill a lot of gaps. And more importantly, instead of calling it filling gaps, what I've tried to do is I've tried to make it to where it's hard to give me an objection. I'm not known for the hardcore closer just because I'm some pushy guy, and I can be. But at the same time, it's because I'm always about trying to help people out. And the way that I help people is they buy my product and they take action. It enriches their bank account, right? And so, over the years, I looked at it as overcoming objections. People would say, well, this work for insurance agents? So I just created a program straight for insurance agents. They would say, does this work for automotive people? So I just created a program straight for automotive people. And so what I've done is I can't figure out how in the world to turn the Skype thing off in the background. I've tried to turn it off like 4 times, but it keeps making noise back there for me. So I apologize that showed up. But so what I do is I focus on, overcoming those objections with the product in place already. And so if they say, well, do you have something that works for insurance agents? Like, absolutely. I have Insurance Ads Academy. They say, oh, do you have something that's specific to loan officers? Because we all like to think that we're unique, right? But at the same time, I'm always filling more gaps. But here's what I can tell you about price on those products. Price is what you believe it is. And so I look at some of my quote unquote competitors, and they give 90% off. I've got an ex-business partner running a program right now, and his whole ad is, you can come and get from me for $99 what you might pay somewhere else for $8,000. And it's an ad, directly targeting my program. But I mean, let's just be real. If you could get for $99 what you get for $8,000, then nobody'd come over here to me. But I've established a price value, and here's how I value most of my stuff. I've got a pretty unique process, but it's simple at the same time. I look at the industry that I'm selling to, and I think, how many transactions are they going to have to do in order to see an ROI from this program? So if I sell to an insurance agent, they're usually they usually make on like a PNC insurance agent, they usually make $200 to $800 per transaction, right, yearly. And so I make my products anywhere from $200 to $500 so that I say, hey, all you got to do is close one deal. Car dealerships, the car salespeople, they usually make $200 to $1,500 per deal. So I have a program again at $500 that I sell to them. It's like, hey, worst case scenario, you have to close 2 deals. You surely, with my training and your ability and your talent, you're going to be able to close 2 more deals than you would have normally to get your money back. Same with real estate. I have a $2,000 product that I recommend to them, and I'm like, that's 1/3 of one deal, right? Like if you sell a $200,000 house, that's 3% of $200,000. That's going to be, $6,000 right there that you've got. And I'm only charging you 2. So you don't even have to do a full transaction in order to start being profitable for my system. And the key to that, much like your industry, is making sure that, you don't sell to broke people. I'm not selling to people that make $10 per transaction, and I've got to help them make 1,000 sales because, 1,000 sales is a lot of sales to me. And I know that I can help somebody get 1 or 2 sales and recoup their money really quick. So I just make sure that I target the right industries to where people, attorneys, chiropractors, doctors, dentists, those are great industries because, you could charge $1,000 or $2,000 for something. And it's as simple as one client gets them their money back.
That's interesting too, because maybe even a lot of, again, the aspiring entrepreneurs who are listening today, they might be surprised to hear that, people like dentists, chiropractors, podiatrists, they are concerned about how to quote unquote close someone on a sale. There is a business aspect to healthcare. To get people compliant to whatever your recommendation is, but there's also an investment that person has to make, and you have to explain what the value is. It's closing. It really is.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. It is closing. I always say that some of the best salespeople are doctors. And if you think about it as a whole, like I'm looking out the window, I'm on the 15th floor of the building that I'm in, and I can see Presbyterian Hospital, which is a massive, massive structure, millions of commercial square feet. I can see Baylor across the street here too, in downtown Dallas, this massive amount, like millions of square foot of medical retail spot. And so, me being a real estate guy, I understand how much that cost, right? Like those things might be $1,000 per square foot where they're sitting in the city right here, and they're millions of square feet. And so for an industry to get that much money, there's had to have been a lot of stuff sold. But what I like about the medical industry, and I model a lot of our sales stuff after the medical industry, because it doesn't seem like they're selling you something, right? Like when the doctor tells you to go get an x-ray, and maybe you need it, maybe they don't, but they don't ask you, hey, can you afford it? They assume that that's what you want done, and they move forward, right? Hey, go get an x-ray, go do this, that, and the other. And it doesn't matter if it goes through your deductible or whatever, and people don't ever ask, well, how much is it, or can I afford it? Like people just assume that, hey, you know what? Doctor said do this, let's go make it happen. And it's a suggestive selling, right? They say, hey, they suggest you take this medicine versus another medicine. They suggest you go get, this x-ray, or they suggest you go through the MRI thing, or they suggest you go see this particular other therapist. And hardly anybody ever questions it. But if you look around, you know that they're selling all that stuff because they've got these huge buildings, and, the doctors that live in my buildings drive Porsches and Lamborghinis and stuff like that. So, cause, I live next to 2 hospitals, so several of them live here. And so there's a lot of sales being made somewhere. And I followed that, the industry really, really hard because, I like to make it in my business the same way, to where I'm just suggesting this is what you should do. And you trust me so much. And that I have the prescription of what's right for you, that you just go out and you buy my program and you get results from it. And I found that that's the best and easiest way to do anything, because they don't really feel like they're getting sold. They feel like they're taking the advice of someone who wants to help them become better, right? It's just a complete different mind shift. And, I have the name Hardcore Closer. but it's not so much about, like, again, me being pushy or whatever. It's just about positioning to make sure that we get the sales. You know, a lot of times people get the two mixed up, and really hardcore has been more about my lifestyle and stuff than it is my sales style. But, you know, you don't have to be pushy. You never hear a doctor, you know, running over objections about x-rays and stuff like that. And they don't seem pushy. They give you a suggestion. You go do exactly what they want because you trust them as the expert.
You know, and there's another similarity too that healthcare professionals have with, you know, salespeople or even, you know, online businesses, that truly, if they don't go into work the next day, they don't get a paycheck because it's based on their skill and their knowledge. So that's why so many chiropractors, so many healthcare providers, doctors, dentists, I mean, they're so interested in online business because they can take their knowledge and know-how and create online courses and maybe it's an exit strategy. A lot of similarities to what we do, actually, Ryan. You know, one thing I want to circle back on, though, is actually challenge. And I mean, I'm going to encourage everyone, head over to your website, like to the hardcorecloser.com, pick up any of your 3 books. You got some incredible stories there, but I'm going to ask you actually specifically, what is one of the challenges you're having in your business, you know, currently, where you're feeling the resistance?
You know, I think as an entrepreneur, the resistance never goes away. It shapes, shape shifts and moves around. And, you know, all we're trying to do is make the most of it. But one of the areas that you know, I'm always constantly trying to strive for improvement. I believe that, you know, bigger, better, faster is my motto over here. So I'm always trying to figure out how I can do what I've already done faster. I'm always trying to figure out how I can do it better and make it bigger, right? And one of the biggest things for me is, strangely enough, is finding time to, you know, we have so many leads coming in. We have a team that's growing so fast and a customer base that's growing so fast. It's really finding time to actually make the most of the people that we're onboarding into my system right now, not the clients, but the actual staff members. And that's a place where I'm struggling pretty hard, you know, like training a sales team and then making sure I'm training the management as well, because this is all brand new to me. I'm a salesman, not a CEO. I'm a CEO now by default, but, you know, I'm a natural born salesman, not a natural born CEO. And I do have leadership skills, obviously, as a salesperson, a business owner, but it's a lot different when it's just me running myself versus me and I'm responsible for a whole team. And, you know, I lose sleep at night. You think $220,000 is a lot of money to make in 1 month. And especially, you know, we haven't made less than $100,000 in the last 8 months and in a monthly time period. But, you know, at the same time, I'm always worried because I don't keep that money, just like most business owners. If that money's sitting there in my bank account, it doesn't do me any good. So I'm, you know, buying more ads so that we can grow our exposure. I'm putting more systems in place. I'm hiring more salary people and salary contractors, retained contractors to be able to fill the right positions to make it easier. I'm hiring more back-end staff, getting more programming on our computers. I'm investing like crazy. So I still, as crazy as it may sound, I still wake up with those night sweats as if I'm broke because I know how much I have going out trying to grow this thing. And I don't know that ever changes for any of us, because when you have, you know, $100 million a year business, you're probably still spending 99 to make it grow. And if you don't spend 99, you're going to make Uncle Sam's pocketbook grow. And so, you know, it's a constant struggle to make sure that I have provided to take care of these families that these people's families that have decided to align with me. And then also, you know, not to make bad investments to where I'm not able to get an ROI on my stuff and it hurt, you know. But that's definitely the big frustration for me right now is, you know, just scaling this thing.
So Ryan, what would you say, like, is it that drives you absolutely insane about aspiring online entrepreneurs today? Like, what is the misconception that they have?
Well, they think that it's get rich quick, a lot of people. And, you know, I hate that form. I really do, because, you know, and the other thing is, if you're not doing it, don't say that you're doing it, because, you know, guys like me that actually do this and make multiple 7 figures a year in sales, we see what some of these people are out there saying, and I can simply look at it and go, well, that's not true. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that guy's doing that, because I know what it is to do that. And, you know, I think a lot of people, if you don't have that experience, you look at the people and you think, oh, okay, cool, this person made $1 million. Then you start to feel bad about yourself. You're like, why are my skills not that good? Right? This person's able to make $1 million. This person's able to do this, that, and the other. And you know, and we tend to get down on ourselves. And that's when a lot of people quit and they go back to their normal gig, right? Well, with me, I say that, again, a lot of people will quit and go back to their normal gig, right? When I say normal gig, like they'll go back to a corporate life or whatever the case may be. But, I would just suggest that you stay in your own lane. Don't ever brag something that's not true. Don't future pace your numbers, and don't expect to get rich overnight. It took me 6 years to build this business so far, and it is by no stretch of the imagination done. And it's taken me 6 years to build this business. In the first 4.5 of them, I was pretty much broke. I mean, 10 to 20 grand a month sounds like a lot until you got overhead and taxes and LLCs and CPAs and bookkeepers and advertising budgets and all the stuff that goes into it, man. It adds up a lot. And, just don't get caught up in all that hype. Stay in your own lane, mind your business, run your advertising, close your people, and don't get caught up in the get rich quick. Get caught up in the get rich in the long term, right? Because let's say a lot of people that talk about the get rich quick stuff or make money, let's not call it get rich quick because you have an educated crowd here listening, but let's just call it the make money fast thing, right? The people that get caught up into that, and the people that do make money fast are often the first ones to fast themselves right out the door, right? They're usually the fastest ones to disappear from the online space. So, don't expect, if it does work overnight for you, that's awesome, but just don't go into it with that expectation. Go into it with an expectation of the long run, no matter what you're doing. And, also, I would say make sure that you diversify as well. With me, my stubbornness, and Ed, maybe you can relate to this, but for my first 4 years in business, my stubbornness wouldn't allow me to do affiliate work. So in other words, I would suggest you use this company called Lead Pages, but I wouldn't give you my affiliate link because I thought taking money from my customers on top of what they'd already paid me wasn't cool. Well, then one day somebody, I don't even remember who it was, had a conversation with me and told me how arrogant thinking that was and how much money I was leaving on the table. And I find that a lot of internet marketers think that way. But, diversifying my portfolio, which is part of the stuff that my CPA came up with, I get a $4,000 or $5,000 check a month from several different affiliate ventures every month that I don't have to do anything with. And I could turn that money into advertising money for the month. And really what I use it for is to make my car payments. But I turn that money into different car payments for me, but you could turn it into advertisements and things like that for you. And, just want to make sure that you're diverse and everything, and try to make every dollar that you can from every customer that you get. We work hard and spend a lot of money to get customers in. And when I say make every dollar you can, I don't mean rip them off. But if you're going to suggest 2 or 3 services to them on a regular basis, why not get deals with those 2 or 3 services and get paid? You're going to send them there anyway. Somebody's going to make money. You might as well take a small portion of it and get paid for your services, feel good about what you're recommending. And then also when people start paying you big checks, they start paying attention to you. And then you start to have better relationships with the providers and the affiliates and stuff like that. I know my affiliates have made me, my own page on their websites and have promoted me to other people and will suggest me to different people in the field that come through and stuff like that. So, it's more than just somebody who pays me to suggest their product every month. We actually have working relationships with them too. So just look out to get the most of everything that you can while it's still wide open like it is.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, the reason part of the reason why I grew my business so quickly and so successfully online was through affiliates. I actually built an email list using affiliates and, promoting them and them promoting me. And it really actually, accelerated my business online. I love what you're saying here about, being, really it comes down to transparency, right? Just be real with people, but don't lie about what you're doing. Don't project, like you're saying, above what your current results are. And it reminds me of something that Alex Sharfin said when we were there, and he said something about inadequacy. I can't remember the entire conversation, but it really that really hit home with me. And I thought, that's what I constantly do. And I hope everyone who's listening can do this too. And I know that you do this, I'm sure too, Ryan, is that I actually put myself in a room with people where I feel inadequate in my business, that is. And so it fuels me. It makes me go man, I want to work harder. I want to make, because I see what you guys do and what's possible. So it actually, my business grows when I put myself in a room like that. So is that the same thing that happens with you when in Brunson's group? And I'm sure you're in other masterminds too.
Yeah. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, and because that's not cool. That's not worth the ticket. And I think that, I don't feel inadequate when I go into the room, I think what happens with me is I feel like, hey, what can I soak up from these people that are in here, right? What can I leave of value? And that's why, like, when you saw me at Alex's event, I gave a lot of input because I want to give value to the group because I feel like I was soaking it up from all of you guys, especially from Alex, since, he was leading the pack. I wanted to be able to give back as well, right? Because I don't want to leave a room feeling like I took everything out of there and didn't give back. But at the same time, I don't feel inadequate around a bunch of people that have it better than me. I feel like they're blocking for me, right? Like they're blocking the way for me. They've already knocked down some obstacles that are going to make it that much easier for me to get where they're going.
Yeah. And I think, there's always, for me, I've always heard the cliche of like, hey, it's like, I want to be uncomfortable and those types of things. I always felt that was kind of a cliche, whereas like, I like to get into a room where even though I'm just not the smartest guy in the room, I like to learn from everyone and of course give some input too. Before we kind of wrap things up, I want to ask you one final question. And this is kind of our signature question for the Laptop Lifestyle. And it's really, I call it, who makes it rain? So Ryan, you're in this room, okay, with these a whole room full of incredibly successful entrepreneurs. And these are all self-made entrepreneurs. And the question is, who makes it rain money? Is it the person who has the most leads? Is it the entrepreneur who can make the most sales? Or is it the one who has the best systems and automation? Who makes it rain?
That's a good question. Who makes it rain? I would have to say, and you guys can shoot me down or not, but the person that brings in the leads is the one that makes it rain. Salespeople, in all reality, can be taught and coached and cultivated, and oftentimes we all have some degree of sales skills. And the salesperson is ultimately the person that makes sure everybody gets paid, right? Because if the sales guy doesn't close, then nobody gets paid whatsoever. But I believe the guy that makes it rain is the one that can bring in the leads for the sales guy, right? I think the most important person in the equation is the guy that can drive the leads in with the systems and stuff. Because here's the thing. If you have the right systems and stuff, sometimes you don't even need a sales guy. I mean, a lot of my stuff sells itself online. And the other thing is, even if you can bring in enough leads, you could have a really terrible sales guy that can still, he's going to close 1 out of 100 instead of 1 out of 5, but he's still going to close them. If you control the lead flow, you pretty much are the person that's making it rain, in my opinion.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. And so, Ryan, if the listeners out there right now, they're feeling the pull, they want to actually get more of your content, learn a little bit more about the Hardcore Closer brand, maybe pick up one of your 3 books or all 3 like I did, how can they find you and learn more?
Yeah, so you can go to clyxo.com/closer. That's clyxo.com/closer. Look, I own that company, Clyxo, and you can sign up for free while you're there. It's awesome. You can find all of my social media, all my websites, everything right there in one place instead of trying to bounce all over and figure out what I am on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the case. Whichever social media site you hang out on, wherever you want to follow me at, you just go to clyxo.com/closer. You can see it's easy to find and connect with me on whatever you're interested in. And then while you're there, just sign up. It's absolutely free. I think you'll love the service. And if you don't mind, help me spread the word as well. It makes it easier on podcasts and websites and business cards and stuff like that to just tell people to find you in one spot. And especially as the Clyxo brand becomes more popular, it'll become like the yellow pages, I believe, of people's social media sites. So make sure you sign up and get your name while it's still available.
Outstanding. And so listeners, you can head over to thelaptoplifestylepodcast.com and you can actually find a webpage dedicated to our discussion today. All the clickable links and resources that Ryan has shared today as well. Ryan, brought it today. Incredible value. Thank you so much for spending this time and actually giving back to help others, create success online.
Hey, you know what? I'm just glad that you asked me to come on there. It was come on here. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you. Time flies. It's been a couple of weeks, huh? It's already been almost 2 weeks, huh?
Feels like forever.
Yeah, and it was great meeting you and seeing another entrepreneur doing the online thing with tattoos is always cool. And I just appreciate you letting me come on here and talk to your people today. Hopefully I instilled some value and maybe elevated some guys and girls that are listening to this is thinking today.
Hey, I want to thank you for listening today. And if you're new to the podcast, head over to thelaptoplifestylepodcast.com and hear more from 6, 7, and 8-figure online entrepreneurs. Even better, head over to iTunes, give us a rating and review, and that will help us help more aspiring online entrepreneurs. appreciate you, and see you on the next Laptop Lifestyle podcast.